Hi, I'm Brad. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, so if we can just maybe center here. I started my own news company back in like February of this year. TouringNews. So I go around to like different places and just talk to people about whatever political events are happening. And we've covered a lot of like the Uyghurs and what's happening in Xinjiang. We've also covered some of what's going on with Inner Mongolia and how they're kind of being pushed off the steppe and things like this. We haven't covered as much about the Falun Gong recently. So can you do like a beginning primer as to like a 101 course before like we maybe get into some of the more like complex questions?
Sure.
Okay. And yeah, these are our cameras that we have.
Well, my wife and I have been practicing Falun Gong since 2001. We enjoyed it greatly. We've gotten tons of health benefits from it, both from it more peaceful and productive. Unfortunately, before we started even practicing, this has been persecuted in China since 1999. The teacher, Mr. Li Hongzhi, simplified the exercises in the early 90s, and he toured around China for 2 years, teaching it wherever he went. People went to parks and started teaching each other the exercises, and it spread throughout the country. But what the Chinese government doesn't like about this practice the most is the spiritual teachings. The foundational principles are truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. That's kind of the opposite of the way a dictator operates. So at the end of the 90s, the same guy who was one of the organizers of the Tiananmen Square massacre, Jiang Zemin, was the head of China, unfortunately. So, he's a very brutal dictator. He was going around China, and he'd see parks this size all over China filled with people doing these exercises together. So he got nervous, and there were many people in the high levels of the government that were beginning to practice it also. So he ordered a survey, how many people are practicing this, and the results came back 70 to 100 million people.
Wow.
That's just from it spreading by itself through word of mouth, and he got very nervous. There was only 60 million people registered in the Communist Party at that time. So he organized an office called the Office 610 that was launched on June 10th, 1999. And basically it's the Gestapo all over again. The Office 610 can override the judiciary, any government agency in China. And on July 20th, 1999, when people woke up in the morning, all the state-owned media was broadcasting this is a cult, it's dangerous. If you have students at school who practice this, expel them. If you have employees at work, get rid of them, and they started rounding up all the coordinators. Like if you were listed on a website as someone who, you could contact in a particular city, you were arrested. And since then, we verified that there's at least about 4,000 people's deaths, but, two-thirds of China lives in the countryside, and also the government runs all the media. It's impossible to know, how many people have been really killed. Countless more have been tortured. Getting back to the killing, it could be in the millions. We have no way of knowing. It's George Orwell's 1984 over there.
Okay.
And I mean that literally. In the cities, they're installing facial recognition software everywhere.
Yeah, we've covered a decent amount.
Okay,
so
good.
You said that it was 4,000 confirmed.
Confirm. If you go to faluninfo.net, F-A-L-U-N dot. FALUNINFO.net. You can see that there. But again, we really don't know how many it is. Now, the most diabolical part of the persecution is forced organ harvesting. The Chinese military runs a lot of the hospitals in China, and they also run a lot of the prisons and labor camps.
Yeah, so we've also done some research into the organ harvesting.
Okay.
I try to.
Well,
I want to make sure that anything is just going to be factually and reportable.
Okay. What I would suggest doing is going to DAFOH.org, DAFOH.org, and that stands for Doctors Against Forced Organ Harvesting.
Okay.
This is an international organization of physicians who are rallying against this. The forced organ harvesting was first investigated in 2006. Well, it was probably investigated before that, but this is where the ice really broke. by two Canadian human rights experts that are not Falun Gong practitioners. Their names are David Kilgore and David Matas.
I've heard of David Kilgore.
Yeah. David Kilgore was in Parliament and he was head of Asian Affairs for a while and he retired from Parliament. David Matas is an attorney who's basically a Nazi hunter before this, and they investigated, and their conclusions were that this is really happening. A third gentleman, he was born in the United States and then moved to England, named Ethan Gutman. He's a Holocaust expert. He started investigating this because he was concerned about it, and I think he set out to disprove it. And when he investigated, he found, no, this is really happening. And he's been touring around the world at times with David Kilgore and David Matas. He wrote a book about it called Bloody Harvest. A couple of friends I have were in camps in China, and when they were put in, they weren't given physicals, but their blood types were taken.
Now, is this some of the Masanjaya prison labor camp? Would this be one of them where they put Falun Gong detainees in? Or
that is definitely a camp where they put in prisoners, I believe women, and it could be happening from there. It could be happening from any place in China where there are prison camps. The Chinese government has said, well, you know, all the organ transplants are coming from volunteers in prison. But the amount of published executions in prison is only about a sixth of the amount of organ transplants that happen in China, so where are the rest of them coming from? Before our group was arrested and put in camp en masse, at any given time there's hundreds of thousands of practitioners in camp. There were almost no organ transplant. I mean, there were just like dozens. The number was in the dozens of organ transplants in China. Now, we're a very healthy group. We don't drink. We don't smoke. We're doing exercises similar to Tai Chi. We're a healthy bunch of people. Once they started putting us in camp, all of a sudden the numbers started going through the roof. And there are also evidence that they've been doing this to the Uyghurs all along also, not just since the mass arrests that started last year.
Okay. Yeah, what are some of the critiques that people usually like try to levy against the Falun Gong and try to either smear or sully the name that you like that are easily ones that you can push back against? What are some of the like main ones?
Well, one is that we're paid to be here. We're all here using our own resources.
Okay.
Another is that, you know, the self-immolation incident that happened in 2001. There's a...
what was this one?
Okay, because the government wasn't winning the propaganda battle, because everybody in China knew 1 out of 14 people were practicing Falun Gong, so everybody knew somebody who practiced. They were losing the propaganda battle. So they basically staged a self-immolation on Tiananmen Square. And mysteriously, all the media cameras were there, ready to film it. Like, how did they get there if this spontaneously happened? Basically, they set several innocent people on fire, and if you slow down the camera, the footage for it, you can see people in the background orchestrated what's going on. Like, one person wouldn't fall over, somebody clubbed them from behind, and the person fell.
I'll have to do some research. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with this.
If you go, there's a website that talks about this. It's called False Fire. I don't remember if it's .org, .net, but it's False Fire. You can get research. You can research it there and see the slowed down footage of it. I can't remember if it was the Washington Post or another media outlet, but someone won a Pulitzer Prize for investigating this back in 2001 and showing how it was staged.
So if people are supportive of your cause, what is the best way that they can, you know, get involved or try to bring awareness, or how can we try to help the Uyghurs? So, you know, on my channel, we cover a lot of things from like geopolitical perspectives. It's very difficult for the United States to influence what happens inside of China due to being afraid of conflict. I mean,
afraid of economic loss, unfortunately, there's a lot of it.
Economic loss or even military conflict. You know, that's why things are happening in the South China Sea. This is why, you know, they're taking power in Taiwan.
For every warship we build, I think they're building 6.
So what are some things then that, you know, you can do to try to resist like against this happening? How can we help the Chinese people who don't want to be on the official recognition? Is there a way
that I don't know. There is a website. I can't remember the name of it. If you give me your card, I can email it to you. But there's a website where you can download software that'll get through the Chinese blockade. So if you know people going to China,
VPN network.
well, it's a very compact software that generates thousands of IP addresses a second, so nobody can track where you are. It was actually used in the Middle East during, a lot of the protests a couple of years ago.
Okay.
That's one way, but a lot of it is you can. First of all, don't go to China for an organ transplant because it probably means someone is being murdered to give it to you. You can write to your congresspeople, you can write letters to the editor of the newspaper. Of course, first investigate this for yourself. And just try to keep the awareness and the attention of the government and the media and until there's a tipping point. If you research, there's been a lot of incidents where products from China, people are finding notes in there that was really
we tried some of these lately.
Really, there was one in Britain where somebody opened a greeting card and there was a note in it saying that the cards were being produced by forced labor. So you can also, just research those and write to those companies, not buy from those companies. Okay. That's another way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Brad, nice to meet you, and I'll write my card down for you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Brad, nice to meet you.
I'm Martin.
Martin, so yeah, this is like a news channel that I started, so it's twitch.tv/TouringNews. Hello to you as well, if you want to hang out. I kind of just go around to different places to ask them what they're looking forward to in politics in 2020. So what might be some of the issues that you think are very important for us as a nation next year?
Two fractions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if we are beyond help at this point. It would be nice to see some sort of healing over of that divide, but I don't know if it's possible.
Do you think that there are a couple of issues then that are on both sides that people are going to come together for, or where do you think would be the biggest hope to unite as a faction?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not very hopeful, frankly.
Oh no. Okay.
I'm not very hopeful. I'm going to vote, and I hope everyone does too.
Yeah.
But I am worried that we might be beyond repair.
Okay. See, I do try to keep hope. I try to look at the positives. I try to see advances. I worry a lot about climate, so I try to look at that maybe being one of the unifying things. I've been speaking with more and more conservatives that have been switching to thinking that it is more of a problem, and maybe there could be some kind of ground between there. Are you going to be voting for anybody in the primary at all, or do you have any kind of leanings at the moment?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying before, I do support Bernie Sanders, and I think that he's the one. To me, he's maybe the reason that I have the biggest amount of hope. The fact that he's been in it since the 60s in the civil rights movement, supported gay marriage in the 70s, was against leveraged buyouts in the 80s, Medicare for all in the 90s, against the Iraq War in the 2000s, against the military budgets of this decade. So I kind of think that there is a model of consistency and hope that happens to have the biggest grassroots movement, the most individual donors. And I think that he's really one of the biggest beacons of change that we have to try to come together. So that's why, my channel and some other people, we do a lot of canvassing for Bernie. We try to host policy events. He's polling very, very well, 18 to 35. He's polling pretty decently, 35 to 44. It's a little bit, harder when it gets to the older generation. But the Bernie campaign, they're sending people to Iowa to go knock. Well, they're not sending them, but they're organizing volunteers to go knock on doors in Iowa. And I think that he's the best hope, I would say.
I'm not opposed.
Yeah.
Whomever. Really?
Yeah.
I'll vote for him if he's running for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to turn everybody out for the primaries. So Bernie 2020 is one of the places that you can check them out. Do you have any other questions for us, or?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Yeah. Enjoy your time. Are you from Philadelphia?
Or from Pennsylvania.
Okay. So you just came to visit?
Yeah, for the day. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm from Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. So I live in Philadelphia now. But yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
So yeah, Brad, nice to meet you. I can tell you a little bit about the channel. So what I do when I go out is I just try to talk to people and find out what they're getting excited for, or what's making them want to vote for next year. So what are some things that are really important to you that you think the United States needs to focus on with its policy?
The economic side of things.
And just try to speak up as much as you can.
Oh yes. USA is doing really well right now. I think we are at the peak of the upward cycle.
Okay.
So it will be difficult to continue what is going on, but the administration definitely needs to step up and continue what it's doing. maybe think of some innovative ideas?
I have a position that the economy appears to be strong due to lowering the interest rates, making it easier and easier to get like access to loans, loading up corporations and consumers with debt. Do you think that this is an economy that can sustain the growth at the level that it's at, or do you think that there will be a reckoning coming with trying to deal with some of the debt?
There's certainly going to be some reckoning, probably in the next year or two. Yeah, because the debt is ballooning to record levels. And it will be difficult to sustain.
Are you going to be active in the primaries at all and like looking to support a specific candidate, or are you still kind of like thinking?
Thinking, not decided yet.
Yeah. Who are some of the people that you're excited for?
Currently, I cannot think of anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because even if the Democrats come in, they are going to increase the debt. It's going to be even worse than what it is right now.
I have seen that Reagan, Bush, and Trump all raised the debt more than Clinton, more than Obama, and their predecessors.
More than Obama?
Yeah, it actually seems to be that it is the Conservative Party that, percentage-wise, actually raises the debt more through their spending than the Democratic Party, which like you would think would be. This is from the Wall Street Journal, was the source that I was equal.
Interesting.
So I think that we just have a misallocation of capital in multiple different areas. We've allowed it to acquiesce into certain echelons, or we're spending a lot on military. So I think that I actually think that the money is there. I think that it's just potentially in the wrong accounts or something. Do you have anything else that you might like to add, or you think that we should be paying attention to? Sorry, video, that there is. Something
welcome
going
to
on
Philly.
Make it hard to hear. Anything else you might like to have?
I would say that there are a lot of areas that spending needs to be checked in. Medicare, Medicaid, even military, Social Security. Medicaid, Social Security. I think they are even bigger than the military side of the spending levels, and it's going to increase by the year.
Do you think that eliminating private insurance then is one of the best ways to eliminate the administrative costs, the marketing costs, the sales teams, and that would be able to lower the overall cost of healthcare? Because at the moment right now it is, I think we spend 18.9% of our GDP comes from healthcare in the United States.
No, I think going the other way would be much better.
You want to
completely privatize everything.
You want everything.
Government should not be involved in anything.
Oh, at all?
At all.
Oh, okay. In any type of like programs, or?
Yes, any type of programs.
Yeah, maybe. What about like the road system? Should they be?
No. I mean, I'm talking about healthcare. Not the roads.
Okay.
Healthcare.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how far. Do you then identify as like a libertarian in some type of way, or?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah? Okay. Where are like the positions that government should be involved in? Where are the ones that maybe they're involved now that they should be backing out of?
They should be backing out of healthcare. They should definitely be involved in roads, bridges, all the infrastructure.
Okay.
That is very important to the country.
What about like the infrastructure of humans? Of trying to like be healthy potentially.
Well, I mean, if you look at 60s and 50s, when government was not involved in healthcare, you can see that the costs were reined in significantly. Everything was much cheaper. But with the insurance, and not just government, even with the insurance, you put a middleman, the cost goes up significantly.
So then is single payer like a way of like getting rid of that middleman then, or?
Certainly not. And government is very inefficient, to be honest.
Okay, so you don't think that there's any like redeemable qualities of
single payer healthcare? Not at all.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, any other like big things to add in?
No, I think I covered all the points.
All right, yeah, that's
Thanks
so great.
much.
Thank you very much, Rohan. Have a wonderful day today.
You too. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, and if you can just try to speak loudly, that way the audio can be picked up, that would be awesome.
All right.
Okay. Where are you from? You said you're Sweden. Okay. What do you think is different about United States government or governance compared to Sweden's potentially? Are you aware of many things that we do differently here, or that you might do differently than we do, as far as organization or policy or the way markets are structured?
The thing that strikes me is the difference in medical care, for example.
Okay.
That's the main difference. I cooperating between our countries.
Can you do like a 101 level course of how medical care works in Sweden, so we could like inform the audience like the differences between theirs and ours?
Well, for example, if you go to a medical center and get to meet a doctor, and he can see that you come to a specialist, and that will cost you about between $10 or $15.
Okay.
And if you come to a specialist from this medical center, it's for free.
Okay.
And of course, there is a small fee if you stay in hospital for operations, but maybe I would say $20 to $30.
Okay. Where does a majority of the funding come from, to the best of your
Taxes.
knowledge? It does come from.
Yeah, taxes.
Is it a progressive tax system? Is it a VAT tax system? Is it a property tax?
No. We have a tax for the roughly for the states.
Okay.
It's different names, you know. We have a tax for everyone the same in the area where you live, the commune, what we say.
Okay.
And then if you are above a certain income, you also pay the state, the government taxes.
Okay.
But mostly through the area where you live. And that's enough to have this health care.
Is there any type of private health insurance system in Sweden?
It's coming.
It is coming.
It is coming.
Why? What are the reasons that it's
Some people want to have a faster, because sometimes you have, as a normal person, you can sometimes wait. You have to wait a month or so. And if you want a faster lane to the specialist, you have insurance. But not too many have, but some have.
Okay. Anything else that you may want to share or anything? We did a good talk on healthcare. Is there anything else that, Americans might want to take in the Swedish way a little bit? We've talked, one thing that I don't know if you've heard of. Have you heard of bogging? Picking up litter while jogging? This was like a Scandinavian thing that happened, that we were trying to get happen in the States. People would go out for a jog. They would pick up plastic trash, try to clean up the neighborhood. Okay, yeah. Just on normal walks and normal jogs and.
I try to, yes. And I know many people try to.
Yeah. Are you surprised at the state of trash around Philadelphia, or?
I just arrived, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay. How long will you be staying in the U.S. for?
Another week.
Yeah, going to Washington D.C. as well.
No, going back to New York.
Okay. Have you ever been to D.C.?
No, this is the first time.
Oh, if you have any kind of chance to make it to Washington D.C. for a day, that's a really beautiful city to go check out.
We'll do our best.
All right, have a nice day. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Brad,
Yes, nice to meet you.
what's your name?
Oh, Chaturit.
Oh, Jatari.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. And you said that you're from Thailand, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, what brought you to the United States? Are you here for vacation?
Yeah, for vacation.
Okay.
With my family.
What do you think is something that we as Americans could learn from Thai society or Thai governance or Thai policies? Is there something that we could adapt from your nation that would help us?
Okay, firstly, I thought that we should study much about our culture.
More about the culture?
About culture and traditional.
Okay.
And if you study from that, you're going to know why we have been here and what we're going to be in the future.
Okay.
We develop from, maybe the different history. I mean, the past different from Western, from the East, right? So the thinking system may be different. The thinking idea may be different. That's why we have our way. You may have your way, but we can try together, right? We can do like a East meets West, right? That means we have to compromise to understand each other.
Yeah.
That's why if you start to study about our culture and what we are, what we have had been, you're gonna know why we are here.
Okay.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I spent about 30 days in Thailand in 2017.
Good.
And I was mostly in the islands, and then Ao Nang, Krabi Town,
Oh, okay, southern part, right?
Koh Samui. I went to Bangkok.
Okay.
The question that I want to ask is, do you think that Bangkok has adopted too much of the American culture? And it's because you're saying, there needs to be a blending. Do you think that in that big, like, dense populated urban city, do you think it's becoming too fast, like the American lifestyle? Or do you think that it's, do you think it still, like, holds the traditional Thai values?
Actually, you can. I thought that you may understand already about the difference between Bangkok people and the up country people.
Right.
But the difference is quite big difference, big gap. In Bangkok, normally it's not Thai. Normally,
Oh, okay.
we adopt many international career path, or also the thinking and also the lifestyle in Bangkok. That means that the Bangkok people doesn't mean Thai. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you want to know about Thai, in the upper side, you're gonna get the real Thai. But anyway, you can find also the real Thai in Bangkok, but you have to pay some charge.
Okay.
Normally, when you walk around, you may know Silom, right? You may know Siam Square, right? There's many tourists from many countries, right? Chinese or American or European, they come to us and they take a trip in Thailand. But you ask me if too fast or not to adopt the American or Western, right? I don't. Not fast.
Okay.
Not too fast. It's okay because we are the touring city, right?
Yeah.
Over 40 million people come around the world to Bangkok. That's why we can adopt easily, right? We
Yeah.
have Burger King. We have many things same as America, right?
Uh-huh.
That's why it's okay.
Yeah, wonderful. So would you then suggest for people to get like a better feel of the Thai culture to go to like Chiang Mai, go to the northern regions, go to, or how can we better learn the Thai culture? And then I'll let you go because I know that you want to get back to Canada.
Okay. Start at if you are the new tourist gonna go to Thailand. Firstly, you should start normally in Bangkok, and you may select. In your case, you may select to go to southern part. You're gonna touch with the scenery of the sea, of the sunbath like this, right? Everything is beach and sea, right? If you go up to the northern part, you're gonna touch the forest, you're gonna touch the chimbo, you're gonna be a little bit cooler weather, something like that. And most of them, I mean the northern and the southern, may be different in the culture because the north is almost same as the Chinese one, but southern same as the Malaysian, right? But anyway, they can blend together to be Thai. But you can learn the Thai from Chiang Mai, Bangkok, and southern part, maybe Samui or something. But first start Bangkok, and it depends on your design. It depends on you want.
Okay.
If you want beach, go to south. If you want the north, you want the hill, go to up.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
Okay.
good luck to you. Have a wonderful day. I really appreciate your time.
you.
Enjoy
Bye-bye.
your vacation.
Thank you.
We will have like the framing set up. I am Brad. Nice to meet you.
Jerry.
Jerry, how are you doing? Do you live in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. What are a couple things that you think are important policies the U.S. should be focusing on in the next elections, or maybe over the next decade?
So what I've heard is healthcare and the climate issues.
Yeah.
So
do you?
and I'm concerned about both.
Yeah. Do you have like any kind of way that you want to try to tackle either of the issues? I know that they're both very.
Well,
one is more broad.
I think over 90% of the scientists pretty much told us what we need to do. And I kind of believe in science. It's I think we know what we have to do. I think that it's gotten wrapped up in a political quagmire. The whole climate thing has become a political issue now.
Right.
So it's your left, your right, and that's pretty much the way you're going to draw your conclusions on what needs to get done, whether it be something or nothing.
Do you think that if there is one issue that could bridge the gap, climate may actually be one where people are eventually going to have to listen to the science? And
I think a lot of people already have. I think other than, I would say, LGBTQ rights, I haven't seen anything change faster.
Okay.
As far as the attitudes towards climate because, people are getting wiped out. I mean, neighborhoods, cities are getting wiped out. And I think people who are old enough see the difference.
Have you heard any of the projections of what's going to happen with the Amtrak line between Philadelphia and New York? They're saying that there's going to be like inundation of water over the tracks down near Delaware.
Having ridden up to Boston enough times, I can tell you that in Connecticut, those tracks are pretty close to the sea level.
Yeah.
And that's a tidal area. So, when the tide's high, those tracks could be covered.
Is there a candidate in 2020 that you think has like the best healthcare policy and the best climate policy, or
best healthcare? I'm skeptical of healthcare for all because I think it becomes like you guys are kind of young. You don't remember the old car radio buttons where you push one in and the other one comes out, and you push that one in and another one comes out.
Okay.
It's somebody's got to pay for that.
Okay.
And however, having been actually, I do a little bit of videography myself, and we were shooting in a hospital in the Netherlands last summer, and we were shooting in Switzerland. Their hospitals there are like our ritzy malls. Like you can go to the fashion district down here, and they're fancier than those. So why are they able to take care of so many people and we're not?
Well, I think I have some thoughts of my own. They may just be my thoughts and my opinions, but I'll try to explain them if I can. It sounds like you're worried about the cost of what a Medicare for all or a single payer would be.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask you was, do you think that eliminating the insurance agencies, the marketing teams, the sales teams, the administrative flow, the debt collections, do you think that by eliminating that entire sector of it, that would be enough of a reduction in the cost that it actually would be drastically cheaper because we wouldn't be paying so many middlemen?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think it would be cheaper. I think what we also need to do is educate people. I think we're better eating habits, better lifestyle habits. I think if we went in that direction, getting people smarter about living longer. You're going to live longer. Do you want to live longer and sicker, or longer and healthier?
So how can we get the healthy foods to the places and cities where you have food deserts, or the rural countries where?
I think it's just education. I really think a lot of it is education, but I also think I think you're absolutely right. Cutting out. My dad is a physician, and I remember back in the 60s and 70s when the insurance companies started taking over. I remember he would say, "No one's going to win. The only people who are going to win are the insurance companies."
Okay.
And they've become really big, and it's become a very lucrative, business. I don't know what they stand to gain. Insurance companies stand to gain by having a sick population. If it were me, I'd rather have people spending the same amount of money on health insurance and being well.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay out.
Yeah. Final question is, do you think that there is much of a difference between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren? If you had to call a distinguishing factor to differentiate them, they both get labeled progressive, they both get called this.
I'm trying to, I listen to some political podcasts.
Okay.
And a lot of times they get lumped into one.
Well, this is why I'm trying to ask. Do you think that there is anything that differentiates them?
The thing that comes to mind is perception of Elizabeth Warren is that she may be a little more pro-capitalism.
Okay.
Where Bernie Sanders gets marked down as a socialist.
Okay.
And the second you say socialist, you get in trouble because people don't understand. Our army is socialism. Our police department is socialism. Socialism is the reason that you don't have to build your own roads when you go on vacation to wherever you want to get to. So, I think a better definition of socialism would get Bernie Sanders elected. I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else that you might want to add in, or do you want to promote something that you were filming? You said that you were filming something.
Well, yeah. It's for medical imaging. It's so esoteric. It's not.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not the least bit political.
Any final comments or something that you might like to chime in or add?
No, I would say I'm glad you guys are doing this. I'm glad you're getting people more interested. By doing this, you're probably getting more people more interested.
Yeah, we probably have 60 people live watching the channel right now. So the whole concept is we let people hear like the conversations, and they kind of like process the information as a group, and they talk. So they probably have like a conversation happening right now
Great.
about what we're talking about.
Have fun.
Everybody loves Jerry from Philadelphia.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope you guys have a good time and meet more people.
All right.
Maybe meet some people who aren't from the city.
We have,
If you
yeah.
can.
We
You know,
spoke
that might be
to a person from Thailand. We spoke to a person from Sweden. It's kind of just like any person that I try to like go up and approach. It's difficult to get people to agree to be on camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm willing to talk to whoever. And as I said, I do a lot of international news broadcasting, so it's actually nicer for me to cover the international perspective.
Cool.
So,
Well, pleasure.
all
Nice
right.
meeting you
Have a
guys.
great
Take
day.
care. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Basically, the channel is called TouringNews.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Jake, nice to meet you both. Are you both voting age?
No, we are 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you be voting age
Yeah,
in 2000?
definitely.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
then this is perfect. Yeah. What would be some of the biggest things that would get you out and mobilized and like excited to vote going into the presidential election in 2020?
Like, I don't know, like I see it like more school-wise. Like
Okay.
our school, like the school that we personally go to, like security, protection.
Okay.
Like that's like a big thing. Like I can see like in the past like school shootings, like there has been like I actually have a debate. Can I show you about it?
Yeah.
I did a debate in class on gun control, like if teachers should hold the guns on them in the classroom.
Okay.
And like over the past in 2018, there were 24 school shootings placed across the United States, leaving 79 people injured and 35 people dead. So like, I think like a teacher holding a gun in the classroom would be scary anxiety for a kid, of course, but like kids wouldn't know which teacher to place with the gun. And like I feel like with like the school that we go to personally, like we have a guard on duty all the time. We have police officers in the building constantly all day. But like students like down here, they don't have that same like opportunity, the same like it depends like your area too, like the wealth of the area and like the tax money that's going towards the school. I think like schools do need to be more protected
Okay.
in next year.
So, there's one thing that's happening in New York City
Yeah.
where they're putting facial recognition cameras
Yeah.
outside of the doors.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to interject my position here as I like ask this question. I do not want facial recognition on the outside of schools because I
Yeah.
don't want kids to become accustomed to being in a surveillance state.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm worried that as you get people used to being under that monitoring all the
Yeah.
time, then it's easy to put cameras out here and cameras out
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
But at the same time, doing it is, good for students.
Yeah.
It is protecting them. So what are actual ways that you would want schools to be better protected that you don't think are going to infringe too much on either creating anxiety for
Yeah.
students because there's a weapon in the room or creating a problem down the road of further government intervention?
I think like just more like I think each school should have at least 3 police officers.
3 per...
We have that at our school.
Okay.
Like we live out in Westchester, right outside of Philly, and it's just like we have 3 police officers on duty all the time. Like we feel safe, and there are cameras placed around the building, like 360-degree cameras placed around the building. Like I don't like seeing, like I wouldn't want to be on camera. Like I don't want someone being able to see me, but like that is safe for students. I also talked about how like in New York they actually did have proof of this working. So in the New York Daily News, where 6 school shootings were halted because of the presence of a firearm, like 6 school shootings were like halted because like a teacher did have a firearm. But not all teachers are gonna have firearms. Like say a school shooter comes in and the teacher that has a gun, are they gonna leave the classroom or are they gonna stay right in the classroom with their students and protect them? So like those students that are in other classrooms are pretty much screwed. But like, I don't know. It's a hard topic.
Have you noticed that there is a candidate that's like speaking enough about this or like putting forward like kind of like
Not
their
really.
thoughts, or...
I mean like a little bit, but like I haven't really heard that much. I don't know.
Yeah.
With like Trump being in office, like a lot has been done. Like a lot has, like we have as a country proceeded and we're getting somewhere, I feel like, but I don't know, there's still a lot that's just unsaid. It's really sketchy.
Yeah.
Like,
Are you leaning towards like voting for anybody? When
I don't know yet. I really didn't like getting into politics. Like it's hard to share your political opinion in today's world because not a lot of people are accepting. They usually just go off their own. But like, I don't know.
Do you feel that it's hard because on social media everybody's going for a reaction or a retweet instead of going for actual like dialogue?
Exactly. Like in school, they go off of they go off what they see on social media. They don't actually know the facts. Like sitting in a history class, the teacher's gonna give you her political opinion, and she's gonna teach you on that. Like you can't. It's hard going to public school because you're learning the teacher's opinion. Like history from like 9th grade to 12th grade was completely different because each teacher had a different opinion. Like they would teach it from their perspective.
And you felt that if you could feel their bias in
Yeah,
different
yeah.
levels
Like they'll
of
tell you. Like they're
Okay.
not supposed to give their political opinion. Certain teachers will tell you their political opinion, and I just don't think that's like correct. I don't know. Because everyone's supposed to have their own opinion, and I don't think that should be shared.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to like mention or like bring attention to? I like to try to just leave it open ended for like
Yeah.
what you both care about or would like to discuss.
I just think more of like the gun violence. Like that really was scary last year with all the school shootings. I don't know, like that. I just can never see that happening in our area. But like schools like in the middle of nowhere, they have no like. It takes about 45 minutes for the nearest police officers to get to the school. Like that's very dangerous. Like out in those, like my brother lives in the middle of West Virginia, and like the area that he wants to send his kids to, like that's just not safe. So they want to do online school. Because like I don't know, it's just really dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you
it was
for your
nice
time.
meeting
yeah.
you.
Have a nice day. If you want to find it, it's TouringNews on YouTube.
All right,
so we'll
sounds
be getting.
good.
Okay, so yeah, basically I'm just going around to try to like talk to people about like what would get them out to vote next year in the general election. So what are some policies that you think the country really needs to work on?
I think we have to work on focusing on people and on profits, because I think that's a problem. We want like money lining our pockets. We're not worried about people and what they got to do. We got to think about not only rich people, because rich people get tax breaks all the time. We got to think about people who don't have a lot. We don't do that enough. That's what I think.
It sounds like maybe then you would be supporting Bernie Sanders. Does this kind of?
I don't really have like a specific political party that I support, but
Okay.
I just think like you gotta think ethically.
Yeah.
Like, think like how would you want to be treated, and that's how I would do it.
Yeah. Are you going to be like registering to vote in the primary? Or?
I might. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because you know, I do think that it's very important too. I think that we do have to get somebody that fights for policies for everybody and not just for maybe like certain individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else? I know you said you have to like run and you got to like get going.
Oh yeah, no. I just had some quick stuff to share, but thank you though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Have a nice
Thank
one. Take care. Irvin? Marvin. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so
Would you
like I
mind? Yeah, just yeah, kind of that.
said, yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
just going around today to try to talk to people about what you think we need to work on as like a nation. So what would be maybe like 1 or 3 of the biggest things that you think we should work on? You know, like healthcare. Healthcare. Okay. Yep.
That's me when I can see right now.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Yeah.
Mainly healthcare.
Are you one of the people that is supporting the single payer system, or do you want to reform the system that we have? Do you want the public and the private?
I like the private and the other one, the private one and the private one especially. I'm in the private one right now to my job.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Are you worried that by coupling the way that we get our insurance from our job, it makes it maybe more difficult for you to change jobs if you were ever looking, or it also? Do you worry that potentially your employer could cut or change your insurance and then make it more difficult for you?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that there's a way that we can try to lower the cost of health insurance at
Yes,
the moment?
yes, I think.
What do we have to do then? Since you wanted to continue to stay private, how can we reduce the costs and cut the amount that we spend on it back?
Mainly the drugs, the prescription costs,
Okay.
and some of the co-pays.
Okay.
Those things will can come down.
Do you think that we should litigate against some of the pharmaceutical companies for the way that they've done the price gouging, or?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you can. I think you could.
And maybe final question is there a candidate that you're excited to vote for in 2020, or are you still on the fence?
Yeah, I would go with Biden.
Okay.
I would go with Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you specifically like about Biden?
I go because he's from the Northeast mostly.
Okay.
So mostly guys in the Northeast normally think alike.
There's one other person that is from the Northeast called Bernie Sanders, and he kind of seems to have like a
Yeah, but he's not from this part of the world. He's from mostly New York area. I think Biden is from Delaware, which is right across the corner.
So you think that Bernie being in Vermont, you think that that's too far removed from the Northeast?
Yeah, for me in this area. For my colleagues in Brooklyn, New York, they probably pick him over Biden.
Okay.
It's just a matter of region.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Not a matter of policy, just
No,
a matter of
the
region.
region, yeah.
Okay. This is eye-opening for me. It's an interesting way to end it. Thank you very much for your time, Marvin.
Have a good day.
All right, you have a great day.
I have the
Oh yeah, you can stand. Yeah, of course. Yeah, stand anywhere you want to. So,
I'll contribute.
so yeah, I'm Brad. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Kelly.
Kelly. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, mostly like the first question is, what do you think would be like the number one or the top two issues for you that are important, like politically? What like really are you galvanized on?
Well, I think that what's really important is the state of, the American cities, the urban cities, and pulling people together and making sure that people are successful, and we're changing the dynamics and making sure that, we can go to any urban city and see the same things, same issues, the same economical issues. And I think just being able to kind of make those changes and bring more collective mindset to the American people is what's really important.
So it sounds like you think that we need to reunify and somehow like, come back together
And be on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen like anybody trying to start that movement, or have you heard of like pockets of like activity maybe in like, are you from Philadelphia?
Actually for Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really heavily in the community development field.
Oh, amazing.
So I do know some small organizations, grassroots organizations that are really interested and have been moving the conversation forward and really kind of trying to change the dynamics. So I do see it happening in the smaller picture. I think in Baltimore what's been happening is that conversation on being inclusive has really gotten bigger, and big enough to where the mayor is acknowledging it, where the city is acknowledging it and trying to put money where things need to happen. And so I think that it's happening, but I think it's really very slow progress.
Can you tell us about how they're trying to like rebuild the housing sector at all, or how they're trying to like repair like all the damage that's been done in Baltimore? Because there's a lot of just homes that are bombed out or blighted. And we have another one of the people that streams. She lives in Los Angeles, and she's very big into housing policy and really trying to get affordable housing for people and dealing with like there's a lot of public-private wrangling right now. It's very different. And then you have NIMBY with people not wanting too high of a building in their backyard. So what's happening in the housing community in Baltimore that's a good thing?
Well, I'm working with this group called Conscious Roundtable.
Okay.
And
Conscious Roundtable?
Yes, Conscious Roundtable. And they have been really big advocates on the vacant homes in Baltimore. So if you know anything about Baltimore, we have just a really large amount of vacant homes. And what Conscious Roundtable has been doing is they've been trying to get those houses to stay. The ones that are in good shape, of course, all of them cannot stay structurally. But instead of turning them down, and the city is on this rampage where they're just trying to knock them down and try to they're not really doing anything once they knock it down. So one of his name is King, and one of his goals is to really, one of his goals is to really stop that from happening, knocking down those homes, the ones that can be saved. We save them and we put people from the community in those houses. We flip them, we gut them out and make them livable to the point where not only are they just living in it, but they're going to own that space as well as come in with some wealth. So I think that's really, really key, especially in Baltimore, because we have just a large amount of homelessness and then vacant homes that are falling apart and nobody's really doing much about it.
Yeah.
I think the guy King has a lot of. I attended one of his meetings.
Okay, yeah.
And I was really impressed because he has a very unique way of dealing with it as a community. Because typically what has been happening is, they tear them down like he said, and then those people move out to some other place. But then they are moving out with all their problems, right? But why not bring them all together, have some kind of economic way to let them be part of the solution, give them opportunity to change, and then use the whole community to become part of that process, which is really, really great. And I think it's working for him.
Have there been a lot of schools that have been closed in Baltimore due to like lack of funding? So a problem that happens in Philadelphia is they close down a lot of schools. Kids are having to bus further and further to classes. There's paint that's chipping off the walls. There's not enough money for books. So what's like the state of education in Baltimore across the city?
They already have done that where they have closed quite a few different schools and they combined a few schools. So now where Baltimore is that those schools are either on the chopping block where they're either doing really well or they're not. But for the most part, it's pretty similar to Philadelphia, where education is not, you don't have the funding to really get the things that are needed. And one of the big issues is air conditioning. And that was really, really big, and to the reason why they pushed back schools opening after Labor Day versus opening before Labor Day is because a lot of these schools did not have air conditioning. So, to your point, the funding is not there, and they haven't really found a real solid way to get kids comfortable in order to be able to learn.
Yeah, this has been so great. I don't want to end it. I do kind of want to know, like, are you supporting like anybody in the primary or in the, the presidential? Yeah, that's why we had a great conversation. I don't want to get into something that would be like divisive at the end. But yeah, if you're willing to share, I would like to hear.
To anybody, it doesn't matter. I don't think political. I think this is beyond politics, right? Because like you mentioned China and you mentioned all these other competitors that are like gaining on America. I started working in Baltimore and I was shocked to see all these equal opportunities. That could be either part of the technical innovation that we should have, part of the whatever reform that we need to have. But almost half of the people are just wasting out there. So I think the community has to just change their mindset, and the politicians have to follow along too. Otherwise, we just keep on going down, down, down. Yep. It's crazy.
I actually, at the moment, I do not have a particular candidate that I am backing just yet. I know that in the next, 11 or so months, that I am going to be more solidified on who I'm going to back. But one of the things that I want to do in the community is kind of like me, people don't really know or understand what's really happening and who they're voting for. So one thing that I am doing with the Conscious Roundtable is educating civics education, government 101, just the basics, understanding Congress, understanding our politics, understanding our government. So that's one of the things that, right.
Can they find this on like YouTube and on Twitter or anything, or is it just local?
It is local, but that is the hope, is to get it there. It's not yet, but if I can get your contact information, I'll definitely share. With you. And like I said, we're doing it with the Conscious Roundtable, so we'll definitely in the next few months have something really solid.
Should spread the word.
Without
to change our mindset.
Without entirely giving away who I am supporting, I do think that there's one candidate that has by far, in a way, the biggest grassroots movement, and this is the person that I'll be supporting because, like you said, I think that.
What's the person?
I mean, I think that we can guess who they might be. But there is one person that has more of like a movement than anybody else, who has people going out to knock on doors, who has people going to Iowa. So I think that, you did mention this rebuilding the community. Well, the person's campaign slogan is not me yet, so it's Bernie Sanders. Because, I think that he understands the movement, that we need to rebuild unity, we need to rebuild neighborhoods. We don't even have block castings as much, in some of our districts. I live in North Philly, so it's a pretty tough area. And I think that he's the only person that can unite enough people together.
Yeah, I think it's needed. It's important.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, and this is going to be like the end of it. I'm going to come away, and then I'll give you like my contact information so we can get in touch, and he's going to stay here with me. What's your name? Sydney. Do you live in Philadelphia?
I do.
Oh, okay. Where are you from?
I'm from LA.
Yeah, and what brought you, to Philadelphia? Holiday or?
Yeah, kind of a little vacation.
Okay.
I have family here.
All right, awesome. Yeah, the first question that I like to ask people is, what are like one or two of the most important policies to you moving into 2020 and looking forward?
Moving into 2020, what's super important to me is the student debt.
Okay.
And what they're going to do for students. I think Elizabeth Warren talking about half of it's going to go away if you were, a student that has less than like $100,000 or something like that in income. So that's super important to me. I'm a former student, just because, loans suck.
Do you want to do it where certain people, you have to meet like a certain income threshold to get them wiped, or do you want to go the Bernie Sanders way of just eliminating the student debt and converting it to, people can get trade school education too?
Honestly, I think it would be great for everyone, but I think realistically, there probably should be a threshold.
Okay.
Just because, the government says, you're quote unquote rich and you can't, they won't give you financial aid and take all these loans out. So I think there should be a threshold because, especially living in LA, it's very, very expensive. So.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I think we just saw the other day that like average studio in LA was like 2,200 or something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can be done to alleviate some of the housing crisis going on in LA right now? You know, there's people who don't want to sell out their property. They don't want to build high rises. There's NIMBY. There's like eviction.
Well, I think. Well, I mean, rent control would be great, but also just the rise of gentrification is just like, you know, insane, and that's what's making rent go up. That's what's making people who have owned their homes, like especially in the LA area, like USC area, you know, black and brown families that have owned their homes for years and are like being pushed out because, you know, these realtors want to give them, you know, cash and then sell their house for like, you know, almost $1 million. So honestly, I guess you start with just the gentrification process, just all of that. I think would be better.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything else that like you kind of want to like share with, or?
As far as like what I'm looking for in the election.
Yeah. What you need your candidates to support in order to get you out to vote.
Honestly, I'm really sick of the whole like everyone just bashing Trump. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I mean, like, the whole rhetoric, like, I need to know policy, and so that's why I've kind of been staying away from debates, because it just seems like everyone's just been talking about get Trump out of office, and it's like, okay, so if you get him out, what are you going to do? And no one's been focusing on that, at least the last time I watched a debate, so that's, like, super important to me, you know.
The most recent PBS debate was actually much better. There were only 7 candidates on stage instead of the 10, and they actually got through. I thought it was better moderation. I thought they got through more policy. I thought they got through more questions. My channel, we actually, when new policy papers get put out, we read them as like a group together. So we're like a group that does like try to lean more into that way. And I will give you my word that the last one was much better.
Okay, well then I'll tune in next time, because it was just super discouraging.
It might even, I don't know to say to tune in for the next one, but it's worth going back to watch the most recent one, because it was framed really well.
Okay.
It feels like maybe you would be split between supporting Warren or Bernie at the moment by the way that you're giving some answers. Is this true?
No, because I really haven't done a lot of my research yet.
Okay.
So I haven't picked a candidate yet. Because I need to see, like, I studied journalism in college, so, like, I'm going to fact check all of them. So none of them have my vote yet.
Okay, well,
they have to prove themselves.
Well, they all write a lot. They all have their policies out there. If you go to any one of their websites, whether it's Yang 2020, whether it's Bernie 2020, Warren 2020, you know, they do have detailed, in-depth, like, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be this. So the information is out there. I think it's a really good time to, like, be informed. And yeah, I hope whoever you vote for, you vote in the primary. You know, there's a person I would prefer, but as long as you get out in the primary, you know, that's a good cause. I am for Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think that he's the one. I think he has the best track record. I think he has the best policies. I think he understands building a movement. I like the not me, not us. You know, I think that he understands that in order to counter Trump and counter the media power that he's going to have, you need to be the broadest base. You need to be, you know, the most grassroots. You need to be knocking on the most doors. So I think he's the candidate that really can mobilize enough people to actually do what's going to be needed in the campaign to defeat Trump in 2020. So
somebody's got to.
All right. Yeah, thank you. You have a great day today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a safe flight back when you go to LA.
Okay, bye.
So, yes, hi, I'm Brad, and you are?
Andrea.
Andrea, nice to meet you. And you're from?
Colombia, Bogota.
Okay, yeah, wonderful.
Capital city.
So, what brought you to Philadelphia to start like this?
My sister lives here in Philly, so every holiday I come here to visit her basically.
Oh, okay.
She either goes to Colombia or I come here to visit.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so Colombia has turned up like in the news pretty frequently in 2019. Could you give like a little bit of maybe like a 1 or 2 minute summary of what like an uneducated American would need to know about what's happening in Colombia?
Okay, what's been happening in Colombia? Well, actually the peace process has been signed for, so this has been a very important thing to our country. It has ended a war that has lasted like for a long, long time, and now we're implementing the peace process in my country. So basically, it has to do with people from the guerrilla doing other type of activities, involving them in the productive system, so they can do lawful activities and become basically honest members in the society. So that's like the most important highlight, I would say.
Yeah, what were the biggest reasons for the unrest that was happening this year in the different cities in the different regions?
Well, actually, it also has to do with the peace process, I would say. Of course, there are people that agree upon that, but there's others that doesn't agree. So the thing is that those who haven't agreed have like tried to start also a new movements against peace. So it's been basically something that's been like moving the arena in my country also.
Okay.
The challenges derived from the peace process is that since this wasn't a surrender, but it was instead an agreement, of course there are things you have to give away and others you gain, but some people are not in agreement with what they have to give away for this to be accomplished.
Is there, moving like to the U.S. perspective, is there anything about the United States politics or economic strategy that surprises you as an outsider? One thing that you look at it and you're just like, why do they do it this way, or why, maybe something that catches you off guard?
Yeah, well, basically for my international educational experience, I've met people from the States and European people in my academic experience. And what I can tell you is that, to me, the way that politics are handled right now, especially regarding the management of the country, are still very US based. So in my perspective, the view should be more global, like looking at other perspectives also. But I think this is quite changing with young people. Like I've talked with American students, and they now are more willing to go to Europe, to go to Colombia, to go to other countries. So that's very nice, because in that way you get a comparative view on things. And I think there's no country that has the absolute truth, but instead if you look at them as a whole and you get to see the good and the bad things about each other, you can learn more than being completely focused in just one view or perspective.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Maybe like the final one would be, and this might be a little tougher for you, would there be a candidate that you would support in 2020? I don't know if you know all who's running or anything, but...
No, so far I'm still looking. I don't have any preferences as of now, but the only thing I would say is that it's important to make an informed decision. So yeah, basically I will take a very deep look, and I'm Colombian, I cannot like vote here, but you of course need to be aware of the politics and what's happening.
That's actually, I should have asked that before. Do Colombian people pay close attention to United States politics, or is it kind of not
No, I think we do. I think, yeah. Like U.S. has a lot to do with Colombia. We have economic relationship with the United States. Also, the United States have been very supportive regarding the peace process, and it's been involved. So yeah, we definitely look at the United States and what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, like in closing, or bring awareness to a cause or something that you?
Okay, I would like to invite you all to visit Colombia. It's a very nice country. As I've been mentioning you, now with the peace process, it's much safer to go there. There are beautiful people, landscapes, a lot of things to see. So my invitation would be for all of you fellas to go and visit our country.
All right, yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Andrea, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye. Thanks. So where can I see it?
Oh yes, sorry. On YouTube, it will be Touring News. Like, what is exciting you? What's going to get you to turn out to vote in 2020? What are some really important issues?
I would definitely say social issues, kind of like LGBT stuff, and for me, I think the Electoral College is a really big thing. I would prefer that it would be dismantled so everyone's vote is to go by popular vote, so everyone's vote really counts. So I think more people will vote with that. I would say climate change is a really big one as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, we gotta stay there.
Yeah, no, so for me personally, climate change is like my biggest, number one issue, because I do take the view of, if you don't have a healthy earth, then you're not going to have economies, you're not going to have social issues and things like this. Is there a candidate that kind of like encapsulates everything that you're kind of like mentioning here? The electoral reform, LGBTQ support, the climate policies.
Probably Pete Buttigieg. I'd probably say just because it'd be awesome to have a gay president. I think that could do a lot. But I'd probably say he's my number one at the moment.
Are you hesitant at all that he's taking too much money from corporate donations, and it's just going to be like a return to like the corporatist Democrat policy?
I think that's always a possibility for sure. I mean, really, in my opinion, the whole government's pretty corrupt. So.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about somebody like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders?
The only thing I really don't like is I want someone that can kind of meet in the middle. I don't want to go too far to either side.
Okay.
I think compromise is the way to go.
Okay. Yeah. Do you? I guess like maybe a final one would be is do you think that like the American left matches what like the European left might be? Because it sounds like you're worried about like electability and shifting like too far.
To be honest with you, I really don't know a lot about politics ever in Europe.
Okay.
I'm not very well informed to make this.
Okay. This would maybe be my opinion, but I think most people would view Warren or Bernie as like kind of centrists in Europe, whereas like in the United States, due to like prevailing factors or corporate takeovers or whatever, it would be that way. Anything else that you want to like add in with? Or?
Get out and vote.
Yeah. Or if there's any like causes or like charities or anything that you want to like bring awareness to, or something that like, is really true to you.
Always love to support the LGBT community.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day today.
Thanks,
I
you too.
appreciate it. Are you from Philadelphia?
No, I'm from Texas.
Oh, okay. Are you just up like visiting for holidays and like family?
Yeah, just visiting.
First time?
Yeah.
What's something that surprises you that's different maybe in a city like Philadelphia than a city compared to Houston or Austin?
I live in Houston, so you pretty much need a car anywhere you need to go.
Okay.
So it's really nice that you can kind of walk around and stay in the city, so like explore and see different sites.
Yeah, it is a nice place to do that. So yeah, we are by the Liberty Bell. What are some of the most important things to you, like politically, that you need a candidate to support if you were going to be voting for them?
I really haven't kind of chosen a candidate yet, but definitely immigration is a big part or issue that I find very important. Thankfully, I am a citizen, but I know a lot of people that aren't and are undocumented, and with the recent policies, it's really hard for undocumented people to get even when they're not really doing anything like that. So I think
We'll just move over a little bit. Just try to speak up.
Yeah, just kind of eliminate the new policies that were introduced with the Trump administration. I think a lot of his policies were just useless, pretty much, and really cool. There's people who are humans that are coming to our country, and we should treat them with the same respect as any other person in our country. And I don't want to see any more separated families.
Do you think there's any one person that has like the best reforms on immigration, or do you think that there's one standout candidate in the Democratic Party or even in the Conservative Party?
I really haven't seen anyone with a really strong platform on immigration. Honestly, I haven't really done any like deep investigative kind of research, but it's definitely something to look at.
Yep. And what would be like maybe one other, you did say immigration, is there another one that like, is kind of like very important?
I guess healthcare.
Okay.
Luckily, I have insurance through my work, but I do know a lot of people that don't, and they avoid going to the doctor because they don't have it.
Yeah.
So I do support the universal healthcare policies that Bernie Sanders and Warren have been introducing. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of against it, but I don't know, kind of pick and choose, I think, is the best kind of way to go from it. We have it provided for us, we can use it. If we don't want to use it, we can't go in this way.
We're just going to step down a little, just away from the line there. It's just getting a little bit loud. Yeah, maybe like a final question is, you did mention Elizabeth Sanders, and you mentioned Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Do you think that there's any differentiating aspects to them, or do you kind of view them as like a similar candidate, or do you think that there is like something that really like differentiates the two of them?
I see them fairly similar on their policies and what they're bringing to the table. There isn't really any big standout points. Of course, it'd be cool to have a female president, but other than that, I don't see much difference.
Yeah, anything else that you want to share at all? Or?
Go vote.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube on TouringNews. So I'll be editing the video and getting it put up there.
Awesome.
So have a nice day, Corinne.
You too.
So I'm gonna kneel down with him, so just get it in the frame the best we can. So yeah, basically, I started like my own news channel back in February. When I'm in my studio, I cover a lot of like economics or foreign policy, foreign trade, and things like that. But what I wanted to do today was I wanted to come out and ask people, what are your most important policies? What are the most important causes that you support, and what might get you to go out and vote in 2020? So what are like the really like main important?
I believe universal health care is one issue that seems to be going around, especially within the Democrats. Another one is definitely climate change. I feel that the administration that we have right now it's obviously not a priority for them.
So it's a depriority. They actually do a lot of deregulation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think whoever is next in line should do everything in their power to put more power to administrations like that, right? And institutions that advocate for climate change and universal health care and whatnot.
Do you think that we're finally starting to listen to the younger generations? I look at how active the Sunrise Movement is, really bringing a lot of awareness to climate policy. Do you think that we're finally starting to maybe listen to the younger generation?
I think the younger generation definitely has a big part in what the change that's about to come about. I think the older generation doesn't have a big grasp about what's to come because they're not going to live in it any longer. Right? We're the future, so I think it's really powerful when people rise up and advocate for stuff like that.
You mentioned the older generation might not have as much of a grasp because they're not going to be living in it. We do require their vote still. So how can we reach out to the generations that might not be as willing to look at things the way that we're looking at them? How can we try to make more progress with these?
Well, people are set in their ways, so it's kind of hard to do so. I think you could just educate the people you can and just keep moving forward and make the change with the people you can, and the people you can't. Then
this is a really big strategy conversation because a lot of people say well, do you want to turn out new voters or do you want to convert older voters? And I am kind of on the side of you, getting new people to get out, getting people that weren't in politically active before. That's the way that you really get it. Is there a certain candidate that you're supporting at all going into 2020, or are you still trying to evaluate the field?
A lot of them seem to have a similar standpoint, right? But I guess Bernie Sanders, me personally, since you asked, right?
Yeah.
I think he definitely is the change that we need in our nation.
Yeah. Do you want to say a little bit of the reasons why you support Bernie at all, or is it just?
Well, he's been fighting the good fight ever, way before it was ever cool to do so. That's one thing. I think it's really powerful that he has campaign investors that that aren't big corporations. It's a little bit of everyone from everything. I mean, I'm from New York, right? And there was over 2,500 people.
I was 25,000.
Sorry, 25, I stand corrected. Yeah, it was 25,000 right there in Astoria Park. All right, and that's just in Queens alone. All right.
They just had 14,000 people out in LA when he did his rally with AOC, and then he did a rally in LA, and he went to Las Vegas to do another rally this year.
He has support, and people, and it's because he speaks the truth, right? He knows what he's talking about, and I think he's the change we need.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Anything else that you want to add in, or?
Go vote. All right.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Hey man, real quick. Some of the folks in the chat, they are curious if you're involved in any organizations or like DSA or any working with the campaign or anything like that.
Not at the moment, no. I just have an opinion. That's
all
it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, got you. Yeah, some folks just were curious. They wanted to know.
What else are they asking?
Oh, dude, it's all.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
if you want to hang out with it, they'll be happy
there's
to
there's all sorts of.
Here, we'll flip the camera on you so you can see what it's like here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we have there's 59 people watching.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they're all probably pretty big Bernie supporters, so they were happy. But yeah, if you have any questions for Chris, go ahead and ask him. You're dope. Get involved. They really liked when you said get out and vote. The simple message of get out and vote. Yeah, Bernie's the man.
Bernie is the man, right?
Bern, smart guy. So yeah, this is kind of what a stream looks like in the background. So
I'm just waiting for a question, I guess.
Yeah, if anybody wants,
just saying, Chris, you are represent. Oh, I thank you. All right.
Join any org or join an org, you nerd. So that's kind of they're probably not gonna have too many questions for you because you're already an ally. We're trying to pull people maybe away from Biden or things like this a little bit. How long have you been feeling the burn?
think about a year.
Okay.
When I first heard about him, 2016. I'm a little late in the game, but when he first campaigned, everything he stood for, everything that he advocated for, and he's independent, all right. So he wasn't like any Republican or Democrat. So I think that was powerful. He was really smart, all right, and he's for the people.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, it's for the people. We are a nation. It's not just for the 1%. It's for everyone.
There's a good question. What did you assume about the interviewer's politics before you started talking to me and during? Did you have any
You know what?
assumptions?
It could have been anything, right? So, and I would have been honest by whatever answer you came at me with. So, I just, at the end of the day, you just gotta stand for what you believe for, and and anything else is just criminal, really.
One other good one was, do you know about the Philly DSA or the Democratic Socialists of America?
No, not at the moment. No.
I joined the Philly DSA. They're a pretty big organization that does a lot of canvassing for Bernie. They do a lot of phone banking for Bernie.
Oh, okay.
There's a book club that meets once a week or every other week.
All right.
So they get together like a coffee house and they do like book readings and everything. So if you just type in phillydsa.org.
DSA, okay. All right.
The biggest event that they had, we had 76 people go out to canvass, like knocking on doors in Fishtown. But there's a really big canvass next Saturday, January 4th.
Okay.
So basically, like, everybody gets together, they do like an hour training to learn how to, like, what policies to talk about, how to like combat against this, how to combat against that.
Okay.
So and it's a cool organization. There's a lot of nice people in it. It's a good way to meet more people and keep getting out there and keep like spreading the message, keep being a part of the fight.
Okay.
So it might be something that you could look into.
I'll definitely look into that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take care, Bernie supporters. Great.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. We both live in Philadelphia.
Okay, but like what university or like?
No, I started my own channel back in February.
Okay.
It's all just independent broadcasting.
Sure.
I do on Twitch is like where I do most of my broadcasting.
Okay.
We usually cover like economics, like foreign policy, foreign trade.
Sure.
But what I wanted to do now, and the question that I'll lead off with is, what would be like the most important issue to you politically, and what would be the most important issue to you politically if you had to pick one? I know that it can be a difficult.
As in like policy?
Yeah,
area?
politically or like as far as legislation?
Say whatever you'd like. I'll stand here for an hour if you want to keep talking. So however long you want to talk and say what's important to you, I'll listen to all.
And then you look at you or you look at him?
Just say it right to me. Yeah, you'll be picked up on the audio. No, yeah,
you're good.
You can both
You lead off. You're
Sure.
good.
I care about civility.
Okay.
Amongst our elected officials.
Okay. So you think that we need to? Would you then maybe support like ranked choice voting? Because like so in New York they're trying to do ranked choice voting, and you're going to have to vote for down the ballot, which in theory would mean that if let's say the three of us would be on a debate stage, I'm maybe not going to attack you personally because I might need your supporters to vote for me as their second choice candidate.
When I talk about civility, I mean in terms of character, like personal character.
Oh, okay. So you think that we need to get to like a person who, quote unquote, has like leadership qualities and like speaks professionally?
I care about elected officials who are agreeable, who are sensible, who are able to maintain relationships both with voters and with people of all walks of life.
Okay. Awesome. And then, what would be something for you?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go for a policy issue necessarily because I think that the way you framed it made it seem political.
Okay.
And I would not to harp on it, but I'm very interested in changing the executive branch and the leadership in the executive branch of the country. So I would say that that's the most important thing politically. But
does this involve like reining in some of your power from the executive branch, or how do you?
No. It means getting Trump out of the White House.
Okay.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But not with a candidate that's extreme. So I'd love to see a less polarized version of the executive branch.
Okay.
So more so in the median of those two.
Yeah. Do you think that there's like a candidate that really like is going to be able to build that like movement that's going to be the best kind of support that we can all unify behind?
No.
Oh, okay. So you're feeling a little down as to. Like, okay. Oh, well.
Looking forward to 2024.
Oh wow! All right. Do you? Well, there is one person out there who does have the biggest grassroots movement, who has had like the most individual donations, who does have people supporting and knocking on doors in all the different states. Do you think that they might be able to unify like a broad enough base to combat against Trump in the general?
Seems like a leading question.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you sure you're from a news company?
Okay. Yeah. So what's gonna be like your move then? Any vote in 2020, or kind of just like bunker down and try to like?
No, I'll vote. I'll
Okay.
vote. I'll have to see where in the primaries things are going.
Okay.
Because isn't runoff voting, I want to be very strategic about where my
Okay.
vote goes in the primary. And I'm a registered Democrat, so I will be voting in that primary. But I would love to vote for like a Buttigieg, but if that's going to be a wasted vote, he's no longer in the race, then that's a missed vote.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And anybody that you might be excited to vote for in the primary?
No, election's not till the spring. I'll make my decision then.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much both for your time. I hope that you have a nice day today.
Thanks. Good luck.
Nice
Be
to
well.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, the only thing that we have to do is we have to try to talk a little bit loudly so the microphone picks it up.
All right.
So you kind of said that you're not all that political. Is this? Yeah. What is a thing that you think that our nation needs to work on together that maybe supersedes politics? Yeah.
Like, try to give everyone an equal opportunity, maybe.
Okay.
Everyone gets the same chance. Like, try to.
Yeah, just try to speak up.
Try to work on the immigration, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe F1 students should get as equal opportunities as.
So like we're international students.
Okay.
So there are times where companies would not prefer to hire us because they would have to go through the whole process of work authorizations, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something which doesn't help us get jobs sometimes. Maybe that's something. It is kind of political, but at the same time, it's also companies coming together and saying, "Hey, we want to hire more international students. We would like them to work for us," and maybe that's why they start to come together and like just change the system.
I am making a small guess based off the accent, and I apologize if I'm wrong. But are you maybe from India?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have much of a fear about the air pollution and the air quality of like what's going on in the cities back in Delhi and what's happening with the So what are some steps that India is really going to be able to take? I know that they did. You can only drive on certain days based on your license plate in the cities.
Yeah.
They're trying to prevent like the trash burning in certain areas.
Yeah.
What's more that India is going to really be trying to do?
Move away from fossil fuels.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah. Maybe. It's going to be pretty hard to get electric vehicles back in India because of the infrastructure concerns. But yeah, I like it. I like the rule of the odd and even numbered cars. And maybe if they try to do the same thing in other cities, it would like help a lot. Try to in the long run, move away from fossil fuels.
This one may get touchy, so actually I'll let you say that you don't want to answer this one. Do you want to talk at all about what's been happening with like Kashmir and the new citizenship law at all, or is this a little bit too close to home potentially?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know that it's a very divided issue.
But actually, we are not really in India right now, so we'll be a bit biased, I think.
Yeah.
So
well, I didn't want you to get in trouble with families or anything like this, and that was.
It's not about that. It's just that like I've been here for 2 years now,
law.
so
Actually, no one's actually read what the amendment or the law is all about, and they haven't actually explained it to anybody in public also. So people don't know what the law actually is, and they have just targeted a particular religion according to the law. But I think
it's a lot about media influence,
Yeah.
Like
It's a lot of
what happens
confusion.
here is like the media just tries to show you one angle of the whole story, and maybe that's what we've been looking at. So I don't think we'll be the right people to answer honestly.
Yeah. Well, then the final question is going to be: how can we get the media to work for us? Not even work for us, but to be more unbiased again. How can we return, to getting actual journalism being done? Because in my channel, my opinion gets interjected too much to it, so I fall down the same way that all the general media does. But yeah, do you think that just internet and more?
Yeah, I honestly I don't watch news channels. I prefer getting my news from the internet and from sources like Reddit most often because I believe that those are some sources which are pretty unbiased.
Okay.
And more open platforms like that would, help people get the other side of the story.
Yeah. what are 3 Reddit threads that we should follow? That'll be a great way to end it. Yeah, what are some Reddit threads that we should be checking out?
I mean, if you want to get more idea about the Indian news, I would say Our India.
Our India, okay.
Our India is pretty great. I also follow Our News.
Okay.
For like international world news.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I really appreciate it. That was amazing. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
you. If you want to find it at all, it'll be on YouTube under Touring News. TouringNews.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day. Yeah, the opening question is kind of like, what do you think would be one of the most important policies to you that we need to work on as a nation? Like, if you could work within one area of reform, what would you try to reform?
For both teachers, so education
Oh, okay.
is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you teach in Philadelphia?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, can your school afford books?
Not particularly.
Okay.
No.
How much would you estimate you have to spend out of your own pocket per year in order to
Per year.
like supply?
I mean, it's like a minimum, like at least $20 a week.
Okay.
Between like food and school supplies and other things. Yeah.
Like pencils,
Yeah.
chalk, you know.
Anything.
What are some ways that we can start to improve the education system? And like where's ground one?
Get rid of Betsy DeVos.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one start.
Yeah. Do you think that we should like move towards like uncoupling property taxes from education?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, so because like here in Philadelphia, they've closed down a lot of schools.
Yes.
Now kids are having to bus further and further. There's not enough money to keep it going. So.
And a lot of that's also because the buildings that these schools are being built in are filled with asbestos. They're not safe places
Betsy DeVos.
for them to be housed. And so that's another thing to think about, the infrastructure part of it.
Okay. So education would be one. Would there be like another area of like great like need and care?
Healthcare. Yeah, it's just not affordable for anyone.
Do you want it to stay in the private sector? Do you want to do public-private? Do you want to do single payer? Do you?
Public.
Okay.
I'm here for public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like maybe you're going to be supporting either Warren or Bernie at the moment.
Warren.
Yeah. What do you like most about Warren?
I love seeing a woman representing me.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was a former teacher.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know about you, for the first time, it's like someone's on the stage where I'm like, I kind of identify with you with a lot of parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you like seen much of her polling data going into Iowa, or are you familiar with how she's going to be doing, or?
A little bit. Yeah. I feel like it teeters every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like the funding is going to be for her.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that there might be an alliance between her and Bernie at some point, or do you think that they're going to?
I don't know. I think maybe. Once like one of them ends up being further ahead of the other, I think they'll get behind the other person.
Yeah. And it sounds like you'll both be voting in the primaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to like add in with, or like a charity that you might want to tell people about, or some way to help teachers, or something that you can bring some awareness to?
I don't know. Just don't forget about the teachers. Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah, well, we're going to do the best that we can. So yeah, I really appreciate the time. I hope
Thank you
have a
so
nice
much.
day.
You
Yeah,
too.
of course. Brad, nice to meet you. Sean, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty well. The first one that I really just like to start off with is, what is like the most important issue to you, or the most like important couple issues to you? If you could only reform one thing.
That's tough.
If you want to rattle off 10, you can. I mean, I don't mind that.
I mean, I guess dealing with climate change, maybe honestly, like there was a thing Jonathan Franzen wrote in the New Yorker not long ago where they were talking about, rather than trying to combat climate change, we actually need to start talking about what we're going to do when a climate disaster actually happens, and we can't stop it. So maybe talking about how we're going to respond to things like that. Maybe I'd like to see a lot more cooperation with the international community, and health insurance would be a big one as well.
Yeah. So would you like to try to get back into the Paris Accord at some point, and maybe try to get even into a stronger one?
Right.
Maybe?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Is there going? I mean, I kind of think I know where this one's going to be going. It sounds like we align like decently on a lot of things. Is there a candidate you'd be most excited to support in the primaries?
My wife and I kind of have a joking back and forth. She supports Elizabeth Warren. I support Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And that's
Neither will budge.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd be happy to vote for either.
Okay.
But that's kind of the way our house is. I'm more. I find I align myself a little bit more with Bernie than Elizabeth Warren. She finds that she's, other way.
The final question that I am going to have then, and something that we have a hard time even like determining as a group. What are the biggest differences that separate Sanders and Warren? So what is it that, you say you identify more with Bernie than... Oh, yeah, and you can join as well if you'd like to.
I don't think she wants to.
Okay.
I feel like Sanders, well, a couple of things. First off, I think Sanders has a better shot at winning because I think his track record is longer and more uniform. I also think that I think that he's a little bit more aggressive about some of the issues. I like a lot of what Elizabeth Warren has said as far as specifics, but I just think that between the fact that I think Bernie Sanders has a better shot at winning and his longer track record, I think between those two things, that's why I'm on this.
Yeah, amazing. So it does sound like you're big into climate. Is there like an organization or a charity you want to like throw some awareness to that maybe my people can support or something? Or
no, not particularly. I'm more interested in changing the laws because I feel like the charity does some things, but if you have charity in a system that is fundamentally corrupt and broken, the charity's not going to do anything. You've got to be able to actually change the laws first.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I really appreciate all of your time. Yeah, thank you. You have a great day. You have a great day too. And I will be supporting Warren if it comes out, and I'll be supporting Bernie if it comes out.
All right. Have a good one.